Hey, Brad. Just curious as to what's been your thoughts on trying to coach in this environment where there's so many issues that are bigger than basketball that are obviously with the players and with you at all times, and what type of challenge is presented for you?
It's not about me. Obviously, it's about, um, you know, these guys are people first. They care deeply about the communities that they grew up in, the communities you live in, um, and everything that's going on affects them emotionally and us emotionally, just like everyone else. And I think that that's something that sometimes when you turn on the TV, you forget. And I think that certainly they're amazing. And we are in coaching as much as anything to just be a part of a team and to be around people and to share those moments that only a team can share in those rooms, and the things that I think you look back on your career as when you really think about the relationships that you build and everything else, and how people from backgrounds, every background can come together for a common goal is like, it's what makes sports special, it makes teams special. And but at the end of the day, also certainly all affected by what's going on around us.
Question in person, Kyle Goon.
Nick Nurse said earlier today that there had been some discussion of the potential for a boycott or some guys sitting out in response to some of these issues going on. Have you guys as a team had that kind of meeting? Have you had?
We've had a couple of different meetings. We've talked about how we feel. We've talked about just generally where everybody is. And I just simply said, each individual, we support 110%. This is not easy from the standpoint of being down here and being, feeling like you're in this place that you can't leave, as you guys know that are here. And the totally understand anybody's reaction to what's going on outside of here, and the desire to do more, or the desire to not play, or the desire to leave. Like it's totally up to the individual, and we're here to support that.
In the next day between now and the game, how do you kind of see that unfolding? Have you asked guys who want to make that kind of decision, hey, can we know by then?
We just tell them we support you. Yeah, it's bigger than basketball. Support you. I think that I haven't heard a lot of talk from our team about necessarily not playing, but I know that everybody's affected and everybody's emotional, and rightfully so. And we support them. That's it.
Another question in person, Brian Mahoney.
Following up on that, I don't really know how to ask this even right, but as a coach, how do you decide how much you're even supposed to be involved in the? I imagine your lead, you're involved in all the conversations for the most part. Usually, something like this, what's the protocol? There's never really been a situation where guys are.
Yeah, there's no playbook, but I think, like, again, first and foremost, we care about the people, and that's why you just support everybody with what, hearing people and listening and whatever emotions that each person individually feels. You're there to be a support. And again, this, we're fortunate to be a part of a team. We're fortunate to be in that locker room where we can all talk, or that team room where we can all talk and share how we feel. And I think it's really important that, we continue to be 100% supportive of each other in that.
Tim Bontemps.
Brad, as far as these conversations go, we talked to Jalen yesterday and Marcus. They were both pretty upset. Obviously, a lot of the guys in the Raptors and guys around the league are upset, understandably. Have the conversations these guys have been able to have, like you mentioned, getting together in the team rooms and talking, you individually talking with people, do you think that's, whatever decisions are wind up happening, do you think that's been able to help everybody kind of process this and figure out how to approach it? The fact that you are there together as a group and you can talk through this stuff and kind of come to a decision as a group and figure out what to do?
Yeah, and I think that there's, you're talking about group decisions necessarily, and then each individual feels we respect each individual's decision. So I think that it's, at the end of the day, again, what happened this week to Jacob Blake was horrible. It's obviously a all too familiar story, and it's maddening. And so, like, and again, so being here and wanting to use this opportunity to hopefully inspire long-lasting positive change. You know, I think that everybody's got to just look at it and say, how can we, you know, continue to do whatever we can do? And that is an individual decision for a lot of people. But then certainly we're 100% behind each other collectively.
Adam Himmelsbach. All right, we'll go to Joe Varden.
Hey, Brad. What do you want to do? Like, I've heard you say, I don't know, 20 times since we've been down here that there's bigger things going on, and you've sounded like you're really focused on these issues. So now here we are. What do you want to happen tomorrow?
Well, it's not up to me. Again, I'm not necessarily going to get into any of that. I'm doing my best to coach this team as well as I can and be there to help where I can. Recognizing, again, there's no necessarily playbook for that. That's been my task all the way through this. I've said all along that this bubble is not easy, and it's something that you know, we have really put a huge priority on things that matter and making sure that we use this time on the court as the time to find joy of playing a kid's game together. So that's what we've tried to do when we've done that. We just got off the court. It's always the best 2 hours of the day, and that's that.
John Corrales.
I actually have a basketball question, Brad. I was hoping you could speak to the pick and roll situation with Robert Williams. If you could speak to the importance of the proper angles, the timing of getting in and out of those picks, and how that opens things up for shooters.
Well, seems kind of inconsequential or meaningless, right? But the pick and roll angle is often dependent on the pick and roll defense the other team plays. And so, and how quickly you have to get out, how long you hold the screen is all dependent on the other team. Toronto mixes up their coverages. They're excellent at that. They keep you off balance. They're excellent at that. They're comfortable taking risks because they play so hard to make up for that. And I said yesterday I couldn't respect them more. You know, I just think that they're very difficult to play against, and so it's not fair to say that every screen should be the same or every screening angle should be the same, because it often depends on how it's being guarded by both the guard and the big. Or in Toronto's case, they put guards on the big a lot and switch.
Dan Woike.
Hey, Brad. Kind of back more to sort of the larger issues that everybody's facing right now. In your discussions with players, how much of a sense of helplessness are you picking up and frustration that there was a belief that maybe more would have happened by anthem protests, jersey messaging, using platforms? Is that at the root of all of this, that what guys have done hasn't seemed to have made a difference?
You can ask them that, Dan. My own feeling is that those guys are guys that, and having an 11 and 14-year-old, I think I can speak as a person that sees this directly, that our guys' actions have a huge impact, and they make a huge difference. And every time I call home, that's what my kids want to talk about. That's what their friends want to talk about. And so, like, I say stay the course. And because we've got such great people in this league and great leaders as players, and I'm so appreciative for that. There's no doubt that, again, this is maddening because it just happens over and over.
Gary Washburn.
Hey, Brad, two questions. One, your reaction to the firing of Nate McMillan. And two, how do you, in this situation, how do you kind of approach the players like, hey, I'm here to, if you want to talk to me, you kind of said that before, like you've kind of taken a step back and just said, listened and more than talked, but how are you kind of taking this on in terms of trying to guide the guys of what to do?
Yeah, I think, Gary, number one is I would just make sure we open up our space to be a space where everybody can share their feelings. And number two is I'm always available and that will support anything they decide to do. Like, those are all the way that we try to approach it. I don't know that there's a real playbook for it. As far as Nate McMillan, I saw that right before we got here. It's on other people to decide what they want to do with their organization. And I just know, and it's not just Nate, it's multiple coaches here in the last couple of weeks, Alvin and Brett. I just know that when I turn on a game film, I learn a ton from those guys. With Nate specifically, I don't know that anybody's gotten more out of his team in the last couple of years on a consistent basis than Nate McMillan. He's probably, in everybody's top 3 or 4 or 5 candidates for Coach of the Year each of the last 2 years. But every time I turn a game film on, I learn a ton from all those people. And so, I know a lot of times we get caught up in talk and the scrutiny of, what coaches do or don't do. But I think a lot of times the depth of conversation, I don't know that there's a great understanding of what, just how good they really are. I think you have to be in it, and you have to be watching their film, and you have to be trying to beat their team to understand how good they are and all the positions they put you in. And it's a frustration with the coaching profession and the lack of stability, but it's also a reason why I'm very grateful to work, with the ownership and front office that I do. They realize that, half the games I coach, I've made a ton of mistakes, and just kind of stuck with us as we've navigated this process through mostly really good times, but without question sometimes that in other places people might have made rash decisions.
All right, final question, Coach. We're going to circle back to Adam Himmelsbach.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was asking, talking to Jalen yesterday, you could see he was kind of visibly upset. Fred VanVleet had some really powerful words. It seems like obviously something's happening now. The world's almost like turning to you guys, being like, okay, what do you think of this? Will you react to this? Do you worry at all about kind of how they're handling this mentally? It's a lot on their shoulders on top of everything else that's going on and being a tough situation already away from your families.
Of course, I worry about that. But I also know that, again, when we get a chance to sit in our room with the doors closed and be able to share and talk about how we feel and know that that's just a big part of a team. That's what teams are for. We're here to support each other. All this stuff when people decide that they're going to, scrutinize a missed shot or a bad decision defensively, that stuff in the big picture doesn't really matter. What you want to do is try to, invest and be the best person that you can be. Whatever you decide to do with your life, you try to work hard and do that as well as you can and put your signature on it, and then let the chips fall where they may. And that's all we're trying to do. We recognize that each person in that room, whether they make a ton of money, whether every move is scrutinized, or whether they're the last person on our bench that never gets in, is a person first and foremost. And, we're here to help each other. I can't say that enough. We're here to support each other.
All right. Thanks for the time, Coach. We'll wrap it up right there. Jason Tatum and Grant Williams, again, will be our 2 players speaking this afternoon.